Hello and welcome to VCC TV. We have with us today Sanjeev Vashishta, CEO of India's largest diagnostics firm, SRL Limited. A warm welcome to you and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, it's my pleasure.
So the roadmap for SRL's listing is out in the open and it's clear to all of us now. So when will this entire process of SRL getting listed on the stock exchanges be completed?
So as you're aware, we are demerging with our parent company, which is Fortis. The process takes anywhere between 8 to 10 months time, and we'll be kind of following up on the process, whatever is laid out by various laws, and I think we should be over and done with this in about 10 months time.
And we were actually expecting the IPO route to be taken by SRL. So what was the reason you didn't take the IPO route?
So see, we had multiple options that were available, and just for the record, you may know that about 5 years back, we had made up a plan to go out for IPO, but then we got the private equity players on board, and it's been a wonderful journey with them. They believe in our story, they have been rock solid behind us. So today we have got multiple options which are available to us. As per the agreement with the private equity players, we have to give them the exit also, although they're very comfortable being with us. So one of the easiest options for us is to demerge ourselves with a company which is already listed, which is Fortis, and get our listing automatically under that route. So we have gone for that, and it will make perfect sense also, because then Fortis will be focusing on the healthcare delivery system, and we'll be focusing only on diagnostics. So the focus will be very, very clear.
So as the largest player, do you think you'll be a little late in getting listed because Dr. Lal and Thyrocare are already listed on exchanges and doing really well?
So I don't know what is late or what is early. To my mind, it's not a race. I mean, ultimate aim is to create a network, create a reach where you're able to serve the masses, and we have done a wonderful job in that aspect. So if we are looking at providing accurate results with a nimble or a quick turnaround time at affordable price, I think we've done a decent job. Now, listing or something is more of a structural issue, which doesn't really hamper my work. As a CEO of the organization, my aim is very clear that we have to reach out to the people in the hinterland, or even in the those mainstream cities, towns where healthcare is needed, or the diagnostic services are needed. So I mean, IPO to my mind is just incidental, really.
So as of June, you had 325 labs and 7,300 collection points. How do you see that growing, and can you break it down for domestic and international markets?
So see, today we have about 4 labs internationally and 325 in India. So largely we are concentrating on the Indian market. About 96% of the business is from India. India is the place to be in. Everybody is very excited about the India story, and rightly so, as I said. Internationally we go only for 2 reasons. One is we go to those geographies where they have dearth of quality diagnostic services, and they don't have the wherewithal to really create that system which is good for the people over there. And secondly, to augment our work in India. So we are getting loads and loads of samples flown into India from these other countries where the high-end testing is not possible or is not available. So by and large, the network which we have created actually is phenomenal. I mean, if you look at it, we are in virtually every nook and corner of the country today, right from, so we've got labs, forget about collection centers, we have labs in the remotest of the remote areas, Silchar, Dibrugarh, Dumka, Giridih in Jharkhand, or maybe Rodu in Himachal Pradesh. So we have been able to create the labs in these geographies because we want to reach out to the people who need the diagnostic services the most. So that's been our endeavor. Now the idea is to fill this capacity, and we need not really have to put any significant investment. We are over and done by and large with our expansion plan. Now, having said this, opportunistically, if we find some labs to be incepted or to be opened up in certain geography, we will continue to do that. So today, as I said, while we have got 4 labs outside of India, this number is going to, by the end of the year, is going to swell to 8.
Okay.
And the model which we follow outside of India is the asset-light model. Typically, an operations and management contract where we charge our fees and do the work, end-to-end work, right from creating the lab to equipping the place, negotiation with the vendors, training the people, put our team over there and run the show. So end to end we do everything for which we get paid. So it's highly accretive to us because whatever we are earning from there, nothing goes out of our pocket. It gets straight away added to our EBITDA.
We look at your strategy in terms of the business model, which is more of B2C, like almost all of the major diagnostics firms.
No, it's just a misnomer that our model is B2C. I think it's actually both, and I would say it's very nicely balanced. So while about 30% of the revenues get generated from the walk-in patients, a large portion of our revenues come from the B2B business, whether it is through the hospital implants. So we are running the largest number of labs inside the hospitals. Out of these 329 labs that we have, 110 are in the hospitals. Second is we get a lot of send-outs from the other hospitals where we do not have the implants. Thirdly, we are catering to the requirements of various labs. So about 2,500 labs in the country, they give us the high-end tests for testing. So this is a B2B, typical B2B business which we are doing. So as I said, I think large portion of the business is coming through the B2B segment only.
So you've talked about 20% revenue growth. Do you think that's sustainable in the long run because competition is only going to increase? And what about operating margins?
So see, I can talk for SRL. I mean, while you would have seen in other companies, the margins are under pressure. We have seen companies which used to get margins, EBITDA margins of upwards of 35%, have now settled between 25 to 27%. In our case, since we were into expansion mode, we were into the growth phase, our margins were about 4 years back were under 10%, which has swollen to around 22%. So there's not much to be, we don't have to do much of catching up now. We are almost in that range. But to my mind, I think it's important to be growing, and this is one industry which throws up multitude of possibilities, and I see that this business should be sustainable at a growth rate of about 16 to 18% is something which I'm looking at in the long run, without much sweat. And the margins, obviously, if you are running the show nicely. Now, as I told you, that we are over and done with our expansion plans. Our revenues are coming from all the geographies, and if I have to give you a number, 32% comes from north, about 32 from west, 19-20 odd from east and south. So we are very we distribute in a very balanced manner. Now, if anybody who wants to get into these territories afresh, maybe will have to take a cut on the margins, because when you're introducing your services, your margins are bound to be under pressure, whereas this is not the case for us. So our margins, I think, will grow at a steady pace. Last 4 years, as I said, every year on the expanded base, we have improved our margins by 2.5–3%. So I think this journey should continue for some more time, at least, if not more. Maybe I am seeing 1.5% margin improvement every year.
What kind of tests on your menu are significantly contributing to your revenues?
So see, first of all, you must be aware that we have the largest repertoire of tests in our arsenal. We have about 3,800 odd tests which we offer. Now, it is often said on a human body, 4,000 different kind of tests can be administered. Now, in our case, 3,800 are already there with us. And why those balance 200 are not there is because, you need to have a critical mass for that. You get the request for these tests once in a blue moon. So there's no point in you creating a infrastructure just for catering. So I think by and large, we were known to be a company earlier which was more into esoteric testing or high-end testing, but that perception has changed because we are handling virtually everything or all kinds of tests under one roof. Given the fact that most of the cases fall under biochemistry, serology, hematology case, about 74–75% of the tests pertain to these segments, and that holds good for all the companies by and large, including SRL. That's not too different.
Right. And do you plan to bring in more high-end specialized tests?
We are actually doing, as I said, I think we have now chosen platforms like next-gen sequencing or what we call as the mass spectrometry, LCMS, GCMS, so on and so forth. So we are on the cutting edge of the technology, and our R&D is doing a phenomenal job in the sense that every year we churn out 15–20 tests which are unique to India. And as I mentioned earlier, in the panel discussions also, we have to bring those tests which are more meaningful in the Indian context. If you do the, as I said, if you do the gene profiling, Indian population has a very different kind of a gene profile. So you need to bring those tests which are most suitable for the Indian population.
And there are a lot of regional diagnostic chains that are now backed by PE players. What is your take on them? And do you think they're going to impact volumes of the larger diagnostics firm?
See, I mean, if you look at the things in a little holistic manner, the requirement or the need of diagnostics is far more than what we can even imagine today. I would say we should not be worrying about the new players or the regional chains, or anybody should not for that matter be worrying about that. I think what we should be worried about is the fact that whether all these companies are following those quality standards which are essential. And that's the reason why we have been, in various platforms, we have been coaxing, urging the government to come out with some basic regulations where we are able to ensure that only the quality players, I mean, the gullible consumers should not be taken for a ride. Idea is to really ensure that they get bang for the buck, or for that matter, get the right kind of outcomes from the test they are undertaking from whichever company they go to.
So SRL has a history of doing acquisitions. So would you be open to doing an acquisitions of these PE-backed firms or standalone diagnostic chains?
So first of all, as I said, it is not our strategy to go for acquisitions. If we are getting an asset for a value, we'll be very open and provided it really complements my working. Okay, as I said, we are present virtually every nook and corner of the country, but wherever in certain pockets we feel we need to strengthen our presence, where we feel that we need to maybe have a better presence, we are open to looking at assets which are coming to us at a certain value. We will not be going overboard in terms of, or proactively looking out for companies to acquire. Opportunistically, yes. Strategically, no.
And PE firms, they invest to exit. So when do you see your investors are exiting?
Whenever they get the valuation which is palatable to them. I mean, I don't have much of, I can't say much on that, but by and large, I mean, ideally, private equity people should pass on the baton to a strategic investor, because that's the way it should be. Though not many deals I've seen where, I mean, essentially is the secondary deals which are happening. So private equity player is, passing on the baton to another private equity player. Ideally should come to the strategic investor, because that's what the long-term goal is. So let's see, it'll happen whenever it happens.
And so finally, what would be your advice to budding entrepreneurs out there?
I think if they want to get into this domain, this is the right domain to be in. Just remain focused. Always remember that we have to give the accurate results, and that can only be possible if you're following the right systems, using the right technologies, and your heart should be at the right place. Secondly, it's all about creating an ecosystem where you're able to deliver quality healthcare or quality diagnostics at affordable prices. So if you have that knack of coming out with certain meaningful tests through R&D or through whatever way you can, through innovations, please bring those tests, which will be game changers for us as a country.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.